another week, another bout of NFL free agency. Hello, guys, and welcome to the Cowboy and the Hawks Nest podcast. Today we will be talking about the more recent NFL free agency moves for the Dallas Cowboys and the Seattle Seahawks and the big name free agents that happened over the past couple of weeks in the NFL. And later on, for the fans of MLS soccer, we will be talking about some rumors and some possibilities. First of all, let's get started with Dallas Cowboys free agency. Since the last time that I talked about Cowboys free agency, the Cowboys have signed cornerback Anthony Brown to a 3-year, $15.5 million contract. Brown is a good one to get signed back. He's a very solid cornerback. A new move, we signed Clinton Dix to a 1-year, $4 million contract with $2 million guaranteed. I don't know how the commissioner, when he was drafted in the first round to the Green Bay Packers, kept his composure while saying that name. I don't know who gave him that name, whether he made up that name himself or if his parents did. He had to have been bullied if his parents named him that. I'm sorry. Next, we signed Kai Forbath. There are no details on his contract. We re-signed Joe Looney, offensive guard, to a 1-year, $2.4 million contract. 2 big defensive line signings for the Cowboys. Gerald McCoy signed to a 3-year, $18.3 million contract. And the big boy himself, Mr. Trick Play Touchdown Tight End himself, Dontari Poe. No details released on his contract. But these are going to be 2 great signings for the Cowboys to pair alongside DeMarcus Lawrence, and hopefully we can sign Michael Bennett to like a 1-year, $8 million contract. That could be the best defensive line in the NFL. And now to the more somber of news. The best center in the league for 7 years, Travis Frederick, has announced his retirement from NFL football. I will read his letter that he posted on Twitter. After much consideration, discussion, and reflection, I have decided to retire from football. This was not an easy decision. I entered the league as a 22-year-old, unsure of where life would lead. Since then, I have married, welcomed 2 beautiful, healthy children into this world, and achieved professional levels of which I could have never dreamed. Playing football has given me many amazing things. I had the good fortune to play on a very successful team, participate in Pro Bowls, and even be named All-Pro. I have been surrounded by not only elite-level athletes and coaches, but elite-level men. I have learned from and worked aside some of the game's greatest players and coaches. Surprisingly, what I learned from them on the field paled in comparison to what I learned off the field, specifically how to become an impactful member of the community, reliable teammate, and devoted family man. I started a journey almost 2 years ago that completely blindsided me. When I developed Guillain-Barré syndrome, I did not know how to handle things. I was scared. The experience forced me to reevaluate my life priorities. I spent much of that year thinking about the past and the future. I realized how fortunate I was to play a game for a living. I realized how fortunate I was to make friends and become teammates with some great men. Most of all, I realized the importance of my family and how much I want to be there for their peaks and valleys as they were for me. Football is risky. Each day, players go to work knowing this could be their last day playing. Facing the potential end of my career because of my illness forced me to imagine life after football. I had to prepare for my career potentially ending. Some players fear life when it no longer revolves around football. The moment one stops playing the sport to which one's identity and dreams have been tied to for 20 years. After months of contemplation, I not only accepted that moment, but I also surprisingly found myself welcoming the moment. I was ready for the next stage of my life. However, the competitor in me would not accept going out without returning to the field. I made my return to the field, played well overall, and was selected to the Pro Bowl. But it was a difficult year for me. Each day I faced a struggle. I could no longer perform at my highest level. Playing well is not what I expect of myself and is not what my teammates deserve. Because of this, I know my days as a football player are done. I am proud of what I have accomplished in my career, and I walk away with my head held high. I thank the Jones family, the entire Cowboys organization, and my teammates for allowing me to go on this wild ride. I am very lucky to have played my entire career for and with the greatest sports franchise and fan base in the world. I cannot express my gratitude for the support and opportunity over the last 7 years. I thank my family and friends for their support and for enduring my crazy schedule. Most of all, I thank my wife, Kaylee, for her unending support and belief in me. She handled the NFL craziness with beauty and grace. No one gives enough credit to the significant others in the NFL. I am so thankful for the last 7 years. However, I look forward to the next chapter of life. Kaylee and I will continue to make a positive impact on the Dallas community, which has given us so much. Best of luck to the 2020 Dallas Cowboys and the franchise in the future. Sincerely, Travis Frederick. You will be sorely missed, Travis. If you are to ever hear this, all of the fans of the Dallas Cowboys regret that you have stopped playing football. But we will support your decision because you have given the best of yourself, the best of your career to us, and that will never change. We will miss you. And now on to the Seattle Seahawks free agent signings. The Seahawks have signed Philip Dorsett to a 1-year, $1.05 million contract. This is an interesting one for me. He's on the same level as Jaron Brown, a decent wide receiver, more of a speed-oriented guy, a decent route runner. But I'd say he's a solid signing. The Seahawks have acquired Quinton Dunbar from the Redskins in a trade with the Seahawks' 5th-round pick. To be clear, the 162nd overall pick. Bruce Irvin, former Seahawk, current free agent, and former Raider, is expected to sign back with the Seahawks. I cannot tell you how excited I am for this. Having Bruce Irvin back with the Seahawks is going to be fantastic. Having a three-headed monster in the linebacking core again, with KJ Wright, Bobby Wagner, and Bruce Irvin, almost reminds you of the Super Bowl days. The Seahawks also agree on terms with Cedric Ogbuehi, an offensive tackle, probably to replace Fant. And that's it for the Seahawks free agent signings. Now we get to turn to the league. It is official, guys. Tom Brady has signed a 2-year, $50 million, fully guaranteed contract with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are division contenders. Brady has weapons now, but I'm not sure if that's going to get them over the hump with the Saints. For some reason, I keep hearing from First Take and FS1, Undisputed, that Drew Brees is washed up. He's not as good anymore. Not as accurate as he used to be. But they're also acting like he is not an elite quarterback in the league right now. Time to wake up, Stephen A. and Max Kellerman. Brees is still an elite quarterback. And I'll be damned if I pick the Tampa Bay Bucks over the Saints in the NFC South. Chris Harris Jr., one of the top cornerbacks in the league, former Bronco, has signed a 2-year, $17 million with $7.5 million guaranteed contract with the San Diego Chargers. Fuck LA. I'm not calling them the LA Chargers. The San Diego Chargers also sign Brian Bulaga, offensive tackle from Green Bay, to a 3-year, $30 million contract. This is an interesting one. Bulaga has been injured a lot of the time in the past 3 or 4 years, but he's still a great offensive tackle. So I can justify paying him that kind of money. Emmanuel Sanders signs with the New Orleans Saints for 2 years, $16 million. It's good for Drew Brees to have a wide receiver other than Michael Thomas to rely on. That's in top form. And Emmanuel Sanders was probably the most underrated move during the season last year, because Emmanuel Sanders catapulted them into the Super Bowl, along with the defense, obviously. But on offense, Emmanuel Sanders made the difference in the passing game. Todd Gurley has signed with the Falcons for 1 year, $6 million. Wow, I didn't think he would fall from grace like that. But he went to a decent team. A team that's going to compete for the division in the Falcons with the 2 other contenders. Brashad Perryman signs a contract for 1 year, $8 million, $6 million guaranteed to the New York Jets. Man, I wish he went to a different team. I wish no one to play for the Jets. No one. And Perryman would have been a very good replacement for Randall Cobb in Dallas. That would have been such a great pickup, especially for that amount of money. You're only on the hook for $6 million for a good wide receiver. And finally, the last of the big name free agent signings, Marcus Mariota, former Titan, former first-round pick, who's proven to be a bust, signs with the Oakland Raiders. And no, I'm not calling them Las Vegas. Fuck that. The Oakland Raiders. For 2 years, $17.6 million. He's a good one to get on the cheap. The contract with Derek Carr is becoming too expensive for the Raiders, so they're going to have to abandon ship with Carr. He hasn't shown that he's a decent starting quarterback. I'm not sure that Marcus Mariota is the player to replace Derek Carr, but there needed to be a change in the Oakland quarterback room. And I think Mariota can give it to them. And finally, time to talk about the MLS. There has been a rumor with the MLS and Liga MX, the Mexican Soccer League, that they're going to merge. This would be the stupidest merger in soccer if it were to happen. It's not going to happen because the league structures of Liga MX and MLS are totally different. Liga MX has the European style of promotion and relegation. MLS has no such thing. We just keep bringing in clubs willy-nilly. Now, granted, I think we can add a couple more teams into the fold. I would like the league to get 30 teams in MLS. But then, I think we should adopt the promotion and relegation philosophies of the European soccer leagues and bring in the NASL into the fold and make them a second-tier league. It would develop the United States as eventually one of the soccer superpowers. Because even though we don't have the talent now, we need to start developing the talent. And the Brazilian, the German, the English, the French, the Spanish way of doing development has far surpassed anything that the U.S. has done in the past, and countries without that second layer of professionalism in their country have done. The second MLS rumor / opportunity is with the coronavirus in the United States going on right now. Sports has had to have been delayed for this foreseeable future. I heard this argument from Taylor Twellman. He's not my favorite commentator when it comes to the MLS, but he's the best when it comes to national team. I will defer to his U.S. men's national team experience because that's where he shone the brightest. He proposed on ESPN as a brainstorm that we delay the MLS season until the start of August. That way we can get the regular season out of the way and then bring in the Cup playoffs at around the same time the Premier League, the Bundesliga, La Liga, and Ligue 1, and the Serie A are ending their seasons. Because the U.S. is more of a marketable soccer league than pretty much any league in the Western Hemisphere except for the Argentinian league. It wouldn't be a bad proposition because then we could market our version of playoffs and how to determine a league champion. Because to be honest, I don't like the British, the French, the Spanish, the German, and the Italian way of determining a league champion. You just have a regular season, and whoever wins the most games during that regular season wins the league. Why don't they adopt the Champions League way of doing a playoff? Except take the American influence of a winner-takes-all game. One game. Whoever has the best record of the matchups in the playoffs gets home field. Because they earned it during the regular season. Because they won more. Or got more points during the season. It makes so much more sense to do it that way than to just end it after 9 months of regular season. Plus, MLS is growing in popularity in Europe. The more we market to the world, basically England, Spain, France, Germany, and Italy, we can actually get a big foundation to build up the MLS into one of the top 6 soccer leagues. Just some ideas for the MLS to consider. Thank you for listening to the Cowboy and the Hawk's Nest podcast. As always, go Hawks. How about them Cowboys? And born in 1974, Sounders. And now we win like never before, Sounders. We love our boys in the famous green, the greatest team that you've ever seen, the Seattle Sounders, born in 74. Have a nice day, bitches.